Hello, everybody. Getting everything ready here. Give us a second. Well, I'm going to get started here, and hopefully we get some people watching, and also hopefully you guys see a correct image, whereas I only see a reversed image, which is making this hard to do, but let's try this here. First thing we're going to draw are two shapes, and these are the only two shapes you need to know to get across the entire fretboard. The purpose of this is, I think you'll see after you get a hold of this method, how easy it is to use the whole fretboard in a typical improvisation jam. This method will work for anything in a major scale, which is like 99% of all the music on the radio and popular music, especially in a rock format. Jazz, maybe not so much. All right, but improv, psychedelic jams, rock, hard rock, major and minor scales, natural minor based on the major scale, and all the modes, major and minor modes. So it's a very useful piece of information is going to come out of this video today. Two very, very simple, super simple shapes. Only two of them will get you across the entire fretboard, as long as you know a couple of key little hang-ups that'll trip up users and wouldn't allow this to jump out at you, even if you've played guitar for a long time. So these are the two shapes. We're going to give them a name to make them easier to remember, and based on kind of like their purpose. I'm going to call this the prison cell. It's kind of like a jail, right? And you don't want to be stuck in a prison cell, but luckily for you, there is as a matter of fact, there's two doorways, or just really one doorway, same exact doorway. And there's two of them on each prison cell attached to the outside wall. So, like, what the heck does all that mean? Let's get this understood. So, if we mount this on a guitar, hopefully you're familiar with some of my other videos, so you know how the graph paper method relates to a guitar fretboard. But let's say, let's just draw this on a different piece of paper here. So let's say you want to relate this now to your guitar fretboard. All right. Blank piece of paper here. All right. Will this be in the page? Okay. So let's draw our shape again. We had this represents 3 different notes. Okay, and it'll make sense in a minute here. We're going to draw a fretboard. And just to make things a little easier to explain, we're going to mount this in a special place, but this can mount anywhere on the guitar. This will always be one of 12 major scales, but if that didn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. It'll make sense in a minute. What we're going to do is use this square, or even this square, or even this square as our mounting point. We're going to mount this on the A note, we're going to mount this one on the G note and the C note. You'll see on your guitar that all lines up on the 6th string. So that would be meaning the nut would be here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we're going to call this the E, the A, the D, G, B, and E. For the string names, this is the beyond the nut, so we'll use that as our string name area. And we'll make this a lowercase e just to make it understood. That's the high E, it's the low E. And we're going to put an arrow here so we know for later on that there's a shift here. It means everything that would normally line up like this lines up like this down the way. Okay, but let's not worry about that right now. Don't even think about that. So what we got here is this. Let's fill out these note names now. We mounted it here on G, this one on A, this one on C, because when you mount it there, it happens to use all the whole notes. If you recognize this as the top of the Mixolydian scale, good for you. If you don't, it's not even anything you need to know right now to understand what we're totally talking about here. It's very easy. Follow along. You're going to be amazed at how easy it is to break out of scales and just use your guitar as a scale. And once you can do that, what happens is, first of all, this method makes it easy and exciting, gives you an afternoon project. And if you can relate it all to your fretboard, which I'm pretty sure you will once we're done with the video, you start playing with it day by day, and you start picking up your guitar more because you've got this cool, new, interesting way to play the instrument. And because it's exciting, the playing time, the practice time melts away. And next thing you know, you've practiced this thing so much, it really becomes second nature. Once it's second nature, then you really unlock your potential because you begin to think about what you want to sound like and what's the next note you really want to play, or is there a little lick or a riff or something coming up where you want to go, and you can see all these places and options you can go during your solo to build build to the middle section, to kind of teeter along before the middle section. And so at that point, you're really stepping into your creative territory, I think. So that's the value. And now that we know the value, let's gives you some fire to pursue this little knowledge exercise here. It shouldn't take too long. As I said, I believe this is pretty easy. So G, A, B. What we're going to do is let's fill in all these boxes. C, D, E. We're just going A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and A. As you see here, there's an octave pattern. Something to just take note of right now. G to G, A to A. So you've got some doubled up notes, and that's why there are 9 notes represented here when we really only need 7. Remember, there's only 12 notes. when you want to, for music. Sorry, I got distracted there. There's only 12 notes available when you want to play any music, and when they're of those 12, you're only playing 7 to play any major minor scale based song. Key is knowing how these 7s stack up on your guitar. So here's a pretty easy shape, right? When you play that, I think you remember from playing scale shapes, when you encounter this part of the scale, as opposed to the parts that don't line up like this, this is the easy part to play, where you can make a little fast 3-string run up some notes. It's boring pretty fast, but there's going to be a lot more you're going to do with this. And always consider this, that when you're in this shape, under your fingertips are every note that will sound good in your solo, and every note that won't sound good are located in between. You might say, "Hey, wait a minute, Mark. When you have 7 notes, that only leaves 5, but you have 6 spaces there. What do you mean?" Well, remember, there's that octave, so there's a double note. These are all your black keys on the piano right now. Since these are on, all the white keys are filled out inside the boxes. If you move it, that changes, but you don't have to worry about that. The boxes will always contain the correct notes for your scale. And this is the ultimate root note for the major scale. Incidentally, you could just think of this as your Ionian major. So lining up here, this would be the C major scale. Sure, G is the lowest note, but it's the C major scale. But because this starts on G, if you were to very basically play from G to shining G, you would be playing a Mixolydian sounding version of this scale. But you don't have to worry about that here, because that's a correct explanation, but it's not really making music to your ears, and we'll talk about that in another video. But all you got, first thing to do to jam in any mode is to understand where all the notes are on your fretboard, so you always have a good note under your fingers and you're never hitting a wrong note. And when you're never hitting a wrong note, guess what happens? This cool thing happens, but it's going to sound weird. Your solo starts to sound kind of boring, but you're human. Are you going to make a mistake? Are you going to accidentally hit one of these notes? Yep. If you try to be ambitious and really noodle around this, you will. But the cool thing is, when your scale starts sounding pretty boring, you hit one of those wrong notes and quickly get into a good note. It sounds kind of cool. And you start to learn some things about hitting those notes at certain times, how they can spice things up and add some flair and jazzishness to your solo. So here's the prison cell that we discussed on the other page, right there. And there's a couple things we need to know about this thing. First of all, we'll use, anytime you're in this scale, you're in every one. This thing repeats all over the fretboard and every spot of the fretboard. It's just, these are the 7 notes surrounding all 12 notes. So that's all there is these notes. So this shape it actually must repeat. The reason it never popped out to your eyes is because that string shift here breaks up the box a touch. But if you can get over that, it becomes very simple to get just from this box to this same exact box all over the fretboard. Now, if that was the only way to do it, that would be kind of boring. So there's a second way to get across these boxes, and that is using the doorway shape that we talked about. So let's get into the doorway in a little bit and talk about just jumping from this shape to itself. So here is the important thing to know, that these are always your connecting notes. Check it out, that the shape of 7 notes has 2 repeating notes, and that's your big key factor. We're going to color those yellow. These are your linking notes that link up every prison cell. So GA is the start of this cell, right? Okay, well, GA is the start of the next cell. So in theory, you have I'm going to draw this very lightly, another box right here, and right here. And that links up to the second box, which would be here and here and here. But I drew it very lightly because remember the B string shift. So these two notes are always going to be shifted up. So what does that mean? It means that our shape is going to look like this. We're going to have we're still in the G string here, so G string. So we're going to be able to create our C and our D, but our F and our G are going to be shifted over. So now we've got this shape happening. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And so that's why it gets a little confusing for you. And since this would also be G and A, it stands to reason that we'd have a shape here and a shape here, because these fall in line once again and go up a fourth. This is a fourth, that's a fourth, that's a fourth. This goes up a third. So if you want the fourth again, you have to shift up, and then you're at a fourth above. Interval of a fourth, in case you just got lost there. Let's get you up to speed really quick here. Here's a root note. Here's a flat second. The next note in line is a regular second. Then you have a flat third. You just write this down someday so you have it to look at, and eventually you won't need it anymore. You have a regular third. You have your fourth, which is what we were just talking about. And you have your tri-fives, just like your cool Chevys. You have your flat fifth, regular fifth, and sharp fifth, which is sometimes a flat six, but we're not going to talk about that today. 7, 7, and back to your root. I don't know if all that's true anyways, but flat fifth, 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 sixth, flat seventh, seventh, and you're back to your root, because this is 12 notes right here. Okay? So that's what we meant by a fourth really quick. For those of you who get lost really easy and have not studied your madness here. So C, D, E, G, A, B, F, G, A. So Gab, C, D, and F, G, A. All right. Federal government authority. So you got G, always on top of the G is a C, and D. So if all goes well, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Look at that, it's lining up with how the major scale works. So that's getting from this shape to this shape. And once you get here, it might seem like, well, you're kind of at an end here. What's over here? What's back in this area? Well, this is perhaps where the doorway shape can come in handy. So the doorway, as you remember, was this shape right here, just a simple square of notes that fall together. And you can find this in the major scale, meaning that these must contain all whole notes, and it'll contain whole notes. If you put this note on the C, it would always be B, C, E, F. And let's hear that really quick. I got to grab my guitar here. Okay, so there's that. So that was played on the A string, second and third fret, and D string, second and third fret. And what do you know? Look at this. B, C, E, F. And see this B, E? Shouldn't B be followed by a C and E be followed by an F? So you got your two squares, and let's notice something here. So this is our doorway shape, and our doorway shape is always connected to each end of our prison cell. So any prison cell should have this. Wherever you see the C and the F, you have a B and E. be cool as F, right? So remember your be cool. And now look at, you're building your scale. And one thing you should know about this doorway is there's something even more special and unique about this doorway. What this doorway actually is, this doorway is made of 2 prison cell walls. So for example, if we take this shape and add on one here and add on one here, you see it's the wall of the last shape coming in this way, and then this shape even this way. Same shape, same notes, all connected at each edge by a doorway. And at this doorway, if you've ever played the shape on a guitar, let's single it out here on the paper, you know that's another pretty fast area to do some fast finger work in. Everybody loves good dogs, right? Something like that. No, it's not what we're talking about, but I wanted to quickly draw this shape here. Before and after the box are always part of the prison walls. So you're always dancing around this shape. You're either in between it, and that means you got a whole other area here to go. You've got a whole other area now there to go, where you know exactly what's here, and you know exactly what's this way of this. Basically, you always know what's this way of the square, and you always know what's that way of the square. Another prison cell. And, you know, I mean, it can seem like, oh my gosh, that's all there is. Boy, the whole thing seems very limited now. That's why I'm calling it a prison cell. But you can't think like that. It's not limiting you. This is expanding your horizons. And I think that's one of the tricks that keeps a lot of your buddies from learning this stuff and kind of like, oh, I don't want to, who needs music theory? Because I think there's an inner fear that it could make everything just boring. Like, oh, now I know how this works. It's so cheesy, but I was worried about that, and I haven't found that to be true. I found music theory to be an endless rabbit hole of just fascinating information here. And so there you have it, your 2 prison cells, and in between this, as reference from the doorway shape that they make when they connect to each other, as they always do. So in theory, if the strings allowed, and there was no string shift, you'd have your next doorway, one mounts on the bottom, one mounts on the top. You can think of like Mr. Potato Head. Didn't he have like funny ears that one would go here, one would go there, right? I don't know. It's just help me remember being silly like that. So in theory, you'd have another shape down there if the strings on your guitar allowed. And if you have a 7-string guitar, that's exactly how it works. So let's play that really quick. And what I'm playing is me being in the box. This is going to be my first finger, and then my 3rd finger and 4th finger, and then I'll move up, and this will be my 1st finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger. So let's hear some just riffing around. Okay, that was me using open strings down around in here, but let's try this. Let me move it up. We'll play on the, it played way down here. We'll get to there in a little bit. I'm going to be on the bottom 2 strings, the B and the high E, for that, you know, lead guitar solo area. And I'm going to play in what you might recognize as the Dorian shape, but don't let that confuse you. But it's going to be that, as I said, we'll start on the A note. So it's going to be my pattern, my basically riffing area is going to just be me thinking of this shape first, and then I'm going to move up. I'm going to play this exact same square with but I'm going to think of just this area then. So here it is. right, sorry you couldn't see that, but that was just, an area that I can use to get through a bar or two in a solo. Or, sound cool as I transition from one area to another. Smoothly getting through the doorways, getting to consider this your area, and that's your kind of passageway to get there with fast riffing. Make sense? If it doesn't, leave a comment below where you got lost, and I will make a video explaining your way through it. So, all we need to do from here then is just link up the entire fretboard using these two ideas. So if I, in my solo, wanted to travel up here, let's get down to the 12th fret, and then let's get down to 24. So here we go. Here's the nut right here. What are we going to count down here? C. Let's go down one string here. D, C, D, E. This will be a good exercise because I'd like to show you this here. Considering this is the C major scale, there's a C note. Let's look at something you should always know about how a scale works. For those of you who've never really realized this, I remember I didn't realize this at one time. It's a fundamental understanding here. There's always a 3-4 code, meaning you have 3 notes always butted up against 4 notes that are in a series of whole steps. So next to each other, that's a half step, and one complete step is always skipping 1 fret. So, or basically like going from white key to white key while you skip a black key on the piano. So just like a piano is laid out, you'll have 2 black keys. So it'd be C, D, E butted up against E and F, and there's no E sharp and no F flat. So there's that logic completed right there. And then F gab is the series of 4 notes in the C major scale. To get to other major scales, the notes will jumble around, but as long as you move this pattern, it'll always land on those right notes. You never really have to think about them per se as a guitarist. I can go into detail on that, but that would be a whole nother video. So F, G, A, B, F gab is what I've always known this. And F gab always butts into C, D, E. And let's see, E and F, that's our 12th fret right there. So let's give that a couple of dots there. Here, let's mark out our whole fretboard. There's fret 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12. There we have it. So all we need to do is get to there and here to get to the next series of 12. So after F gab, we have C, D, E again. It's F gab, C, D, E, F gab, C, D, E. Another 2 things to remember, not too hard. And there's your E note at the 24th fret. So you can see how your guitar is laid out. So right off the bat, we can see the doorways. Every time that E butts up to F and B butts up to C, or the 3 butts up to the 4 and the 4 butts up to the 3, that is a square. E, F is always the bottom of the square. So we're going to be, here's the top of the square. We know there's this. And here's the rule of the squares. E, F. Another helpful navigation tip is to know that these always butt up at this corner. This is going to help you understand modes. This is going to help you understand so many other things. So just map out your fretboard and take some time with this. Now, so like I said, the rule is corner to corner. However, remember the B string shift. So this one is always like this, and that's why it never jumped out at you previously. One of the reasons you only get the BE here because you have no more frets at this end of your fretboard. Are we still on the screen? Yes. Okay. So looking pretty cool. We've got this part of the fretboard, this part of the fretboard. Okay, what about right here? Well, here's another rule of thumb. If you have your squares always flow in a diagonal row this way. So if here's a square, then it's flowing this way. And F connects to B. So there's going to be BE. So remember B cool as F. All right. And see how they line up here? This one This row of squares, you only have 2 rows of squares. One takes the in pairs of strings. This row uses the outside, middle, and outside pair. Nice and neat and clean. This one's a little bit more complex, but not by much. You have a half square, which connects to a full square, taking the middle or the inside kind of pair, well, this pair of strings here, and then this pair of strings here. However, that falls right on the B string shift, so that breaks up there. You might remember this little series of notes from your what you got taught as your Aeolian shape. So if that rings a bell to you, this is one way that this starts really clicking with people. So there's BE and CF. All right, and now then we would stand to reason that we would have another BE right there, or BC, right? And BC right should be copying the top string since it's another E string, and what do you know, look at how it lined up. And that's how you can find your way just through the doorways, by traveling the doorways, and then up at top will always be another doorway, up top is another doorway, and it goes on and on. If you backtrack, that means that right here should be another doorway. Let's see, that would be EF, there should be EF, let's see. C, D, E, F. The dot there interferes a little bit, but that would be a full box. B, C, and by the rules, if a full box is there, that means a full box is there. What do you know? B, C, E, F. One fret skipped as per the rules for the B string shift, and then connected. So what could be in here? A prison cell. GCF. ADG. Always dumb, guys. And then what's this last one? What? BEA. Part of BEAD, right? Yeah, because C string shift D. And so there you have it. Let's see. What would be here? Well, in front of the square box is always 2 notes, so your F, your G is going to be here. You know G is always that step from A, so we would know that box is there. And on, and that's all you have. You only have that knowledge will get the any note filled out. Where what's over here? Well, if your box is over here, you must have 2 notes right here. And if you have 2 notes right here, it must mean you have a shape right here. Must be in the same one that you were in up here. So suddenly you're an octave higher. You're like, well, I know where I am now, because that's just a mirror image of, or a copy, not a mirror image, but an identical image of a repeat of what's over there. Just repeat everything here over there. Actually, all we needed to know was this, right? So if that's the case, we have this as a gray area, but we filled it in over here, B, C, E, F, right? Do this for yourself. Play this game, get some of it filled out, and see how fast you can understand the rest of it. And as you play this game and you can just whip this thing out, now your fretboard's underneath your fingers and that frees your mind up to hear the music. Because once your mind is freed up on trying to process, where do I go? Where do I go? Where's the next note? What's over there? Once all those questions are eliminated and you become more relaxed, you really open up a space in your mind to hear the music. And that's where you hear, like, well, that guitarist is really inside the music. And you wondered for yourself, man, how do you get inside the music? Well, now you know. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. B, C, E, F, C, D, E, F, G, A. And on and on and on from there. When I'm in these shapes, sometimes I'll forget about this little 2 prison cell and doorway code and just know that, oh yeah, here's the old Aeolian shape that my guitar teacher taught me, and I'm noodling around in there. And then sometimes I like get out of there, I just travel up a pentatonic knowledge, and I just know, well, this pentatonic shape is here, and maybe I want to play that, and you can start to hear all these sounds and what they'll do for that part of the solo. Once you really get familiar with this, you'll be able to really plug this into the music and become a bonus bona fide guitarist, musician that you've always really wanted to call yourself. And, you know, practice, practice, practice. I still practice. I love to think that I'm stepping into the territory of becoming a guitarist, musician, claiming myself as a musician, but heck, I'd still love to be able to write a song. But I've really stepped forward in my ability to improv and just jam along with any mode, anytime, anywhere. Speaking of that, we'll make this a video. We'll make a new video about that, but you use this knowledge here will help you find all that stuff. So plug in the rest of the notes yourself. I think you know what to do. Remember, your basics are of all this, all these notes. And by the way, your final secret is any of these black key notes that are wrong notes. Anytime you hit one, take a close look. Your note that you need needs no big guess. Just be relaxed and slide up a note. You can slide down. It probably sounds okay. Kind of maybe depends on which direction you were headed when you hit the bad note. And you know, once you get real comfortable, you'll just know right which way you want to go. But it's one slide up. Victor Wooten's trick is now visible to you in your mind's eye. The name of this channel, Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods. That's what I meant, getting this all in your mind's eye. So there's that. You can slide up, slide into any note, and yeah, all by remembering your two hallmark basic shapes that I will once again write down. Shape right here. So outside of the guitar fretboard, you are just responsible for your prison cell of notes stacked up like this, and a doorway of notes that attach to this on that side and this side. One up, one down. Depending on, you know, which way your mind perceives all that, you're up to you which one you call up and down, because your mind will give it its own reference point, but people will be different on that. So we'll just leave that up to you. And remember that that doorway, even though it looks like that, technically really isn't even a doorway at all. It's a manifestation of the shape butting up against itself. So on each side, when you want to travel on each direction from the shape itself runs this way. It runs this way. All the notes of your solo. In Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover, in Rush's Free Will, Alex Lifeson solo and Free Will, Alex Lifeson solo in just about every solo, Eric Johnson just about every solo. I mean, unless the song is based in Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper, that's harmonic minor, this won't work. Melodic minor, this won't work. But melodic minor, you're going to find in a lot of jazz and not in a lot of pop and rock and classic rock. However, harmonic minor and melodic minor all tend to be more symmetrical in nature, so they become easier to understand than the major scale when the time comes for that. So more way cool information with all this stuff. So as I was saying here, our prison cell moves this way, and it links up with itself this way and this way, using those two octave notes there, how the G and the G and the A and the A are together. Got it? Checkbox, fretboard, done in 20 minutes of a Sunday afternoon where nobody came live, nobody watched, but I don't blame anybody because I haven't made a video on this channel in over a year, and it's due for a live video. And so my apologies. I really need to get updated with this channel, but if you want an excuse while you're still hearing me ramble, I changed jobs recently just to try to have more time to make these videos, because I knew that being a driving instructor was taking too much mental energy, and I had no mental energy or drive to do these videos at the end of the day. And so I switched to construction, which takes all my physical energy now, and I still have no energy when I come home and do this. So it's really something for me to make these videos. And producing one, as anyone will tell you, takes days and days. And so we just went live here today to get something on this channel really quick. And pretty jam-packed with info. So I hope it worked. Hopefully the stream sounded good and the voice didn't break up. I'm using a fiber optic connection, which is supposed to be way better than what I was on before. So hopefully that went up. Let me know in the comments below, was the audio okay? Did this stupid shit show up in reverse? Because if I just made 40 minutes of video with everything showing in reverse, I'm going to be pretty damn pissed. And that may have happened, but I believe, because I think last time people were telling me, no, we can see it okay, but I thought I remember finding some kind of trick that I was using. Oh yeah, I think I was, instead of just going live to YouTube, I was broadcasting through OBS, which was allowing me to see the stream properly. So I don't know, maybe this is backwards this time. This really could be a problem. Anyways, hopefully if it was backwards, well, now you can play like Jimi Hendrix, I guess. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you enjoyed my live stream. See you guys sometime soon. Leave the comments below if you're like, hey, dude, make more videos. Encourage me. Tell me that to get my ass in gear, please. I need it. Thank you. Please subscribe. Bye. Have a great day.